I'm Ramil. Today we'll speak about inner developers portal. I will share the story about why we use it, etc. So we will consider this Backstage tool. We'll take a look at Backstage. I'm Ramil. I'm from Ufa. I'm in for web development. I'm a front-end developer from the data product development and positive technologies. I've been working for web development for 10 years. Most of the time, I specialize in product development, and I've done fintech, legal tech projects. MedTech Vue is my favorite framework, but in most of the projects, I would have to use React. Before we get into my presentation, get deep into my presentation, I would like to show a disclaimer that all of the names and the events in this report are fictitious. Any similarities with the real people and events are purely coincidental. So let's imagine a mythical IT company which has been for many years in the market with 5+ products in production. It's got a product team, core team, analysts, DevOps, etc. And this team is a nice and fab and trendy and young, and each year they would launch new experimental projects. In this team, there is a mythical, in this company, there is a mythical team, the developers team. Let's just take a look at them. We have a product manager called Anton, in system analyst, QA engineer, Dima, developers, Vasya, Roma, and they're all managed by the team lead, Veronica. Here I should say that the upcoming story is going to be a little bit exaggerated and grotesque, just to help us focus on the important things. This team has its own product on which the company is working on. It can be a web app, a mobile app, and they use additional services like Sentry, a design system, a platform to communicate with the users. We also have a backend which provides a certain API to our client tools. The backend is using databases, storage, cloud storage. It uses a system of queues, etc. And at the same time, it may use other APIs like notifications, billing, API authentication, etc. Our mythical team starts working, so the time comes for a new sprint, and Anton, the product manager, thinks about enhancing the revenue of its own product. For this, they would like to find out more about other teams' products in the company to try and integrate with them. But he encounters the problem that he doesn't know much about the products, doesn't know much about the owners of these products. After a while, he finds people, communicates with them, clarifies all the data related to their products, and decides upon integration. Then he describes the top-level requirements and sets a task to the system analyst in them. The analyst starts its work. She studies the possibilities of the use of the product by a different team, but it so happens that most of the documentation of another team is scattered all over the place. The team does not care much about the documents, and it figures that some of the documentation has become obsolete. So then she comes up with the functional requirements, and she starts the requirements to develop such a solution to Vasya and Roma. Vasya and Roma figure out that there are some stumbling blocks related to the API used by a different team. They would again have to go to a different team, to the developers team, and they need to clarify what's wrong and how they should tackle these problems. Ultimately, they figure it out, they write the code, and they give this feature to tests. To testers. Our QA engineer, Dima, starts testing. First of all, he needs to find the test cases of the product of a different team. He goes there, clarifies all of the test cases, and then he starts doing manual testing, actualizes the test cases, etc. And then they release this. After all this work done, Veronica, the team lead, assembles the entire team and starts this retrospective review. The team points out some positive features in the sprint. The features in prod, it already has its first users. These users leave some positive feedback. And in the process of development, they found that there were not too many bugs. Then the team points out the negative moments. The documentation of the neighboring team is scattered all over the place, so it took a long time to get it all together and digest it. Some people point out it took me a long time to find the product test cases, and people couldn't find the owners of the products to get detailed information. And some more stumbling blocks popped up, which were not mentioned in the documentation of the product. What gathers all these problems together? It so happens that these team players all had issues getting the knowledge from the next team. After that, they come up with an action point. For this, they decide to come up with a brainstorming session to make sure that combine all the product knowledge of all of the other teams. And after researching this for a while, they figure it out that to do that, there is a solution. It's called an internal developer portal. Internal developer portal. In the internet, it's identified with the IDP acronym. It could stand for Internal Developer Platform as well. But as it seems to me, these are different things, a little bit different. You may argue with me, of course, but I think the platform is a story about the set of the tools that the developers are using just to enhance the productivity of their work and reduce the cognitive load and to always stay faithful to the context. The minimal set of requirements is the code editor, the git list, and the system which is intended to send this code to prod, login, telemetry services, the prod checkup is added. The developer portal can also be included there as a platform, but it's highly unlikely that we can call it a fully fledged developers platform. But then again, what is it all about? It's a uniform interface for the developers team, which combines knowledge about all of the applications, services, data conveyors, and different resources. You can relate the owner of the product there. It could be a specific person or a team, some technical specs, its key performance indicators, different cross checks. its life cycle. It could be production, experimental, and deprecated. Its dependencies on the services, dependencies on one another, and some links to the external resources as well. So let's go back to our team. The team thinks that they need to select a tool, but for this they need to identify the criteria of how they will be selecting this. First and foremost, the team wouldn't want to waste much time implementing these products. And they wouldn't want to start from scratch writing it, so they are looking for the available options. This solution should be deployed on their service, their own services. So servers, it should be a self-hosted solution. In other words, it shouldn't be too difficult for implementation. It should have a clear implementation stack. It should have available documentation, a big community, so that they'll be able to find responses, the answers to complicated questions, and customization options to tackle their own needs as well. In actual fact, there are not too many solutions in the market that fit this criteria. Most of the tools are SaaS solutions, and they are all commercial. The only tool which is suitable here is the Backstage open source framework from Spotify, which the team decides to select for their use. We'll speak about implementation a little bit later. Right now, I would like to speak about the user experience. Our team starts using Backstage, and the first thing the team sees is the catalog of products, all the list of the services, libraries, APIs, everything is gathered together, and by moving to a specific component from the list, they can get knowledge about who the owner is, about its life cycle, about the dependencies on some other services and resources, and that's why they can move to the repository of the project. The team sees this docs tab, docs folder, where they can find the tech docs. It's generated in the static form based upon the markdown documents taken from the repository, and right here you can have issues to the repository of GitHub lab, just to clarify something technically. Our mythical team, our developers, are also happy that they have got all their API description available already on the portal, and they can learn everything about the contracts and all of the endpoints, and they are all based on specifications, gRPC, Open API, and other ones. Our developers also wanted to get more useful information, and they added an available plugin, and at CI/CD tab they can check the status of pipelines and manage them from there. How can you improve the user experience in the portal? You can add some Uber plugins, for instance. Here you'll be able to check the health status of our pods and add a Sentry plugin, which will pull all of the logs from there and demonstrate it to us. Our team continues its work. A new developer joins this team called Petya. Petya gets on board. Thanks to the use of the catalog, he very quickly learns about the existing products of the company, and he's been given the task to develop a new service. Like all of the new products that are created from scratch. It sees a lot of manual work. During the course of the development, Peter borrowed some experience from his previous work. Some time elapses, Peter finishes his work, and the team again starts the retrospective review. What's good? Well, what's good is that Peter has found out quickly about the current products of the company, but bad thing is that Peter spent too much time to tune the environment, to start a new service and use those technologies that are unacceptable in our company. So what we're going to do about it? The team starts yet another brainstorming session, and they find out that the dev portal offers scaffolding and tech radar options. Let's just speak about scaffolding. Scaffolding is the creation of some services based upon a template, a skeleton of the code. Scaffolding allows you to very quickly start our new services and apps. Along with that, you can very quickly register that on the portal, and it improves the standardization of our services as well. So we can very quickly identify the libraries, the technologies here that are adopted in our company, and we can give the description to the linter rights and identify the file structure, which would be the same, exactly the same.
Dev-портал, как выглядит пользовательский опыт.
So this is what the user experience looks like. A list of templates is put on the screen with our applications and services. The user selects the proper ones and puts in the repositories, and the Backstage creates the repositories, writes all of the templates, and basically we have this service ready to develop the features, to do the visualization of the technology agreements and tools. The portal uses Tech Radar as a plugin. By tuning it, the team can already see all of the frameworks, all of the libraries, all of the tools that are acceptable for the use in the company, that can be used in the experimental mode, and some of them that are unacceptable and blocked. After a certain amount of experience of using Dev portal, the team makes a summary. They have collected all the knowledge about the products of the companies in one place. The team spends more time tackling the tasks, but not routine. The services and apps are compliant to standards and agreements, and it's always at the fingertips. But the Dev portal experience does not finish here. Backstage comes up with more than 200 plugins for different purposes, and these plugins are very easy to be installed. If the team sees some problems, then this team is very likely to find some kind of plugin to suit their own needs. Also, they can write their own plugins. It could be a separate page, or it could be embedded into a catalog. Here we would like to say goodbye to the team, the mythical team, and now it's time to tell you a story about the experience of ours and the data platform company. We know that our platform should collect the data from all of the products in the company, so it's very important for us to know all of our products, find their owners quickly, and have the artifacts of these products at the fingertips and use this seamless experience in order not to waste the time looking for this information, looking up this information in different sources. Bearing it all in mind, we would like to have the Backstage-based internal developer portal. We already launched MVP, so it was not a very challenging path. We just spent approximately a month doing that. We learned the technology stack. It's quite simple. It's using UI kit. At the back end, we have .js and PostgreSQL. In monorep, as you can see on the slide, we've selected the single authentication window with the ID protocol. We integrated the K-clock. We added the component to the catalog. We added scaffolding, and even we created our own plugin. How do we configure the portal itself? In actual fact, most of the settings are in the uniform app config YAML format, and only one part of the big capabilities of Backstage require that we go to the code and add something there. It's all described in a very declarative way, and it's done quite simply. We add components to the catalog. It's also done through YAML configs. The owners of the products add their repositories, YAML configs, and they describe all of the components that do exist, website services, API resources. Backstage scans repositories. It starts GitLab discovery, and after it detects some configs, it reads the information from them, and in the catalog we have our components, our products. The scaffolding settings looks very much like adding to the catalog. The developers come up with their repositories, with the code templates. They add a config file there. Backstage scans our repositories, and afterwards our templates are shown in the interface. Scaffolding allows us to customize the creation of the new products based upon templates, and we can create different steps and forms, and we can add different fields there. So these fields values can be used in action. The whole magic of scaffolding occurs in the action. It's the function which describes the action to create a service. There is a basic set of actions. First of all, it's the read of that in GitHub and fixing it in Git and Dev portal. Also, we have a big list of actions that are ready to work with different platforms. And if that's not enough, you can write your own action, customize, and come up with the action which will announce us in the Telegram chat that we created a new repository. When we did this scaffolding, we saw that the publication, the base GitLab and GitHub publications cannot sign the commitments, but security is very important for us, so therefore we decided just to come up with our custom action, and we implemented it to the creating of the commitments. We wrote our own plugin.
занимаемся датой, мы также
Since we are tackling data,
страничку, где вы
we also made a page where we put data centers on the
инженеры
screen,
могли
so
получить
our
быстрый достуp
engineers,
а,
analysts may have quick access to their data
вообще, на
sets.
самом деле, создавать
In
плагины
actual fact, creating a
достаточно легко
plugin
через Backstage.
is easy if you do it through Backstage.
Мы можем
There is
создать как
an
на
ally
фронте, так и на
team
бэкэнде.
with them. We can create a front end
После
and
выполнения
back
этой
end
команды
plugin.
создается
After executing this command,
с нашим
we create a
готовым каким-то
package in
готовым
monowrap
плагином.
with
И
a
там уже мы
template,
можем,
with a standard template plugin.
а,
That's where
как наша фантазия пожелает, мы можем уже сделать все, что захотим.
we can do
В
anything
целом мы
we like to do
планируем
with that.
использовать систему плагинов
Overall, we're
в
planning
наших
on
планах
using this plugin system in the future.
сходить по
We have
различным
plans
командам
to use different
в нашей компании и получить от них обратную
options
связь,
in our
что они хотят.
company, ask people in our company, get feedback from people about the needs so that we can write our own plugins to suit their own needs. And also, we would like to develop a role-based model and implement a role bug so that our users can have their own pages with limited capabilities on the dev portal. In the summary, I would like to
На самом деле внутренний
wrap it up
разработчик это не
with
просто
the following bullet points. The
какой-то
internal development
или
portal is
плагин.
not a catalog or a set of
По
plugins.
сути, про
In
культуру
actual fact,
работы с
it's all
информацией
about the
наших
culture of
продуктов,
working
где мы имеем
with our
доступ
products,
к ним,
where we have quick
храним
access.
все в одном месте,
That's where we store
поддерживаем
everything
в
in
актуальном
one place.
состоянии,
We maintain it in a
знаем
very
кого обратиться,
relevant
если у нас
state, and we know who we can
какие-то.
contact if
На этом у меня
someone
все.
has
Спасибо за
questions.
внимание.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause, please.
У нас есть несколько вопросов. Напоминаю, что можно.
It's a great topic. We have a few questions. You can send these questions here to the chat bot, and you will be awarded with a prize. I would like to say that it's very important that the business uses the resources. Where did you get this from?
Ну, на самом деле,
Somebody said that culture is first. We got. Did you get it from the top or from the bottom? We got it from the bottom. As I said, we work with data, and as we had the need to find out about all of the products in the company, we knew that we don't know much about all of them, so we'd have to somehow accumulate this information in one place. That's how we had this idea. So they said, okay, great.
Ну, в целом бизнес одобрил, да.
So the business approved of that. The business approved of that, and we are planning to promote this story even more to attract more users. So here's the questions. Who should track down the relevancy of the artifacts in the team? I think all of the people. I think this is the story about facilitation.
Техническая документация. Тот, кто
We have technical documentation, and those people who use it,
если видит какие-то
if they see
он может
some
авторов, владельцев,
uncertainties, they can ping
кому принадлежит
the owners because they see who this documentation belongs to, so that they can make adjustments there. There are different plugins, even in the Backstage, that allow you to add the pings,
вопросы непосредственно из
ask questions from the portal, so that the creators, the owners, can immediately see that they have some discrepancies.
Команда отказывается что-то заполнять там.
What if the team says no and says, we don't want to do that?
На самом деле, мне кажется, это вопрос уже софтовый.
Well, I think it's a software-related question.
Если команда настолько
If the team is so lazy, so maybe nothing will ever help this team.
Да, окей.
Okay, then, okay.
Плагинов оповещений. Следующий вопрос у нас. А как
The
можно
next question about plugins. How can you be confident about the security of the external plugins.
Я соглашусь,
Sometimes it's very dangerous to use
да, не
external
каждый плагин должен быть
plugins.
секьюрным.
I agree with you, not all of the third-party plugins may be secure enough, but we have a cybersecurity department which can track it down, and they use the NPM registry
Во-вторых, большая часть
to
плагинов
scan them. Most of the plugins
авторами
are,
Spotify, ну, конечно, на слово верить нельзя, но есть какое-то доверие к тому, что делает Spotify. Да, есть какие-то левые. Я говорю не о том, какие продукты, да, но о том, что это, по сути, добросовестная компания. Ну, да, есть какие-то там авторы, контрибьюторы, о которых мы можем не знать. Здесь, конечно, нужно проверять.
Ну, в целом, я бы сказал, что это обычный процесс постройки плагинов. Какая разница? Backstage там, или Kubernetes какой-нибудь условный. Все равно есть security пайплайны, которые должны... Итак, следующий вопрос у нас такой. А что было до Backstage? Действительно ли переезд на новый портал что-то поменял в разработчиках, что они вдруг стали вести документацию и описывать сервисы лучше?
На самом деле у нас этот процесс пока только, ну, как я уже сказал, мы запустили MVP, грубо говоря, последствия, да, мы еще не прочувствовали это все, но я надеюсь, что все-таки мы придем к какой-то позитивной истории в этом плане, и я думаю, что сейчас попробую сформулировать. Летает мысль, но не могу сформулировать. Так, а давай еще раз вопрос повторим.
Действительно, переезд на новый портал что-то поменял ваших разработчиков в майндсете, что они вдруг стали прям вот работать на пользу вот этого кросс-командного взаимодействия?
So this interaction, of course, is discussed here. That's the project. But this project is just a simple tool. First of all, we would just need to implement the culture here, the culture through the tool. So whether we'd be able to use it or not, we'll see. But these are just the first steps. Possibly we'll create something else. Well, thank you very much. We'll wait for more reports here because we didn't ask you all of the questions. There are plenty of these questions, but this next question, what about the access, whether you can single out the secret data sets to which not all of the developers should have access? Well, straight as a box solution, there is a model of managing the roles, but we need to integrate our own ones on eArmor. It's based on eArmor. We're giving the access to Backstage to other teams. We are already on prod, so any user that we have in GitLab, not in the GitLab, but in our GitLog, can use it straight away. But so far, MVP is used inside our platform. And the user doesn't know much about this portal, but we are trying to make it popular. The next question is from the Young Project. How much time did you take it to fill up content, portal with content? We did not fill out the portal with content completely. The responsibility here lies on the owners of the products because they need to add config files to their repositories. Then everything is automated. Backstage goes and scans all of the repositories and it adds to the interface. Can you say that all of the team is already got used to it, got accustomed to it, and actively uses it? Yes. What were the difficulties with the adaptation, if any? Were you accepted straight away? Well, when we were developing this, we were actually a part of that boiling process, and we would be getting accustomed to that in process, and everyone then treated quite nicely that Next question.
При обновлении версии шаблона.
What we're going to do with the services when they update the templates, like a new version is added and you need to add this something to everyone. What are you going to do about this? Can you highlight this at the portal? Actually, there is a plugin there, which is called announcements, and for this template, you can make it as a newsreel. We have this feature with the new option added.
Следующий вопрос. Здесь описано то, как мы узнаем информацию о том или ином сервисе.
We know about each and every service. Is there a plugin to describe the infrastructure, the resources, the processes? A very good question from an admin. I would support this. Well, it's possible to do it through some plugins, or you can come up with your own plugin, but your own solution will not help you do that. But it's interesting. One final question from the bot. Maybe you are ready to raise your hand. How long did you implement this software, and what were the problems along the way? In actual fact, it took us approximately a month, because this is the ready framework. You take it and you deploy this with one command, and the rest is done through configs and a bit of a code and a bit of a UI to be added. What did we encounter? With scaffolding, straight from the box, you cannot sign the commits, but we signed them all, so we had to customize that.
Решение до MVP сколько времени прошло?
Порядка месяца, да.
How much time did it take for all of that? Approximately 1 month. Wow, it's quite fast, quite fast.
Подойдите, пожалуйста.
Please raise your hands for questions.
Видимо, мне придется.
Добрый день. Вопрос такой.
Очень плохо слышно в микрофон для вопросов. Очень плохо слышно для вопросов микрофон. Сделайте его громче. Please speak up. Please use a different microphone. We can't hear the question. We can't hear the question. It's a bad microphone.
Архитектурной схемы и вот можете накидать.
So, could you please come up with a list of the arguments just to sell this to the business and the developers team? Why do they need to drop the ordinary tools and the documentation and select the portal instead? What are the profits that the team will be getting? And the business, perhaps. Not sure about the business, but the team first and foremost. What will be the benefits and profits for them? Well, if we speak about Confluence or Wiki, these are the solutions that the teams can somehow take their documentation. And very often it turns into a thing which the people throw in a dustbin. People try to brush this up so that they can quickly find the appropriate documentation, but the practice shows that it does not always happen like this. If we speak about the dev portal, there are strict rules. You have a catalog and you have documentation to that. Inside, you can also leave a lot of garbage for each particular project. But again, if your documentation is at your fingertips, people would use it more frequently. And the more frequently they use this, the more they find it in the actual state, the more frequently they find it in the actual state. If we use a Confluence, we have a Swagger where we describe our APIs and some other tools so that the user would have to jump from one service to another. So it's possible. Things where I saw it are standalone services, and in terms of the development portal, it provides a seamless experience.
Культурной плоскости лежит между.
It's more like culture-related question.
Были еще
More.
где-то.
Did you have any other hands? Yes, hi there. Thanks for the question. For the presentation, I have a question about development. You saw those development plugins, JavaScript. We understand that's where you specify that. What about backend? What languages support are available, and what languages can be used for the development in backend?
Можно сразу создавать плагин, который будет
You can create a plugin
изоморфным, то есть там будет и
which would be isomorphic. There will be backend and front end based upon JavaScript. But if you would like to get an API with other tools,
мы можем использовать
of course, we can use the backend of the Backstage as BFF, backend for front end, and we can address some other backend through that.
Еще вопросы? Я видел, еще были руки.
Any other questions? Yes, hi there. Thanks for the presentation. I would like to clarify, do you consider that Backstage is more a platform for documentation for the developers? A service catalog plus the documentation for the developers? Not only for the developers, because the managers, system analysts are those people who work with this information, and they communicate with different people from the neighboring teams, and they need to have this whole documentation at their fingertips. Like I said, different knowledge, not only the technical ones. So that's what we can provide through Backstage, by the way. Do you use such function as linking the components?
Может быть, предыдущему человеку, кто задал вопрос, тоже вот у меня сложилось мнение, что...
And with the previous question which I heard, it seems to me that Backstage is all about making this documentation as a code and having versions. If you need to make it closer to the services, but Confluence is more about products, it's more about requirements, etc. Whereas Backstage is more about the development. It's just a comment. Do you use the integration with Cybernets so that you get the information about real time, where the containers are running? Have you ever thought about automatic discovery so that these manifests would not have to be filled out manually, because the manifests are quite flexible, and on top of that you can put different schemas for validation, but it does not cancel the typos in the names of the teams, etc. Well, manifests are filled out in a declarative way with the specification provided by Backstage, but having knowledge about where they come from the head of the owner of the service. He or she knows that they have a web application and it using a library and API and a database. How can we automate this and come up with a discovery? You suggest that we go somewhere and learn about it. That's right. But my idea is that you can have this Uber manifests and describe labels and collect information about that. It has some disadvantages as well, just like any other solution, but it would help us to collect some primary information first and foremost. It's a good idea, by the way.
Я нет, я техлид.
Are you from DevOps? No, I'm a tech lead. I'm a tech lead. This is actually a question which makes me ponder over it. I think we'll ponder over it. I can suggest yet another idea. You divide these configs by repositories of the apps. Maybe you don't have the mono reps, so you are the happy owner of the microservices with standalone repositories. even if we have the monolith or monorep
репозитории
in one repository,
помещаем конфиг.
we put a config.
Много-много.
That's where we can describe lots of services. It does not matter. It does not mean that manifest equals one single component. In manifest, you can come up with an entire list. If it's a monorep, you can do it immediately.
У нас еще, по-моему, в зале есть вопросики, да?
Да,
Do you have any questions from the floor? Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. Two questions. Did you ever conduct the security audit of the system?
Security audit.
The security audit of the system? No, we didn't do that.
Да, мы секьюрная компания, но мы не проводили.
We're a secure company, but we did not conduct the security audit. But overall, yes, we have it in our plans. In the MVP, we just tried the ground. But as far as the open source solutions alternatives are concerned, no. We have this Backstage and we have the Cratix tool, but these are things that are not very popular. All the rest are SaaS solutions. For us, they're not secure enough. We are getting into this vendor lock once again, so we wouldn't want to go to the cloud and be dependent on some other platforms. Thank you. The second question. When do you have some general configurations, there's always a risk there's some kind of a developer that comes in and they would like to write something for themselves and breaks the configuration of the neighboring services because this commit of them may be put into the main branch and it will break everything. How do we protect against that so that we avoid damaging the entire dev portal? Well, no one has ever canceled the dev review. That's right. We need to have this dev review. And again, if there is a kind of an error in config, it will be reported in the vlogs, and there will be a banner hanging there saying that this component has something wrong about it. Go fix it. Thank you. So I would like to make a summary and say, aren't you afraid of the security service saying that you have too many what? In other words, what if the internet security guys, cybersecurity guys would say that your product is bad and dangerous? What are you going to do about it? I think this solution has already been adopted and everything is okay.